Keon, Goodall, FightHype.com. I'm here with my man Red, which I can comfortably say because of the B&B crew. I know that Bo Matt won Trainer of the Year, but he gave credence and credit to you and Isley, so I'm gonna say that myself. Trainer of the Year as well. We're here in Norfolk for you guys have been training not just Keyshawn Davis, but Keon's pro debut, Kelvin Davis next fight, Troy Isley moving up the middleweight rankings. So I guess I'll start with the top. I guess the one that a lot of people have been speaking on is Keyshawn Davis decided to wanted to take a fight with a hard-hitting guy from Argentina. People have been saying like the Marcos Maidana, you know. He had a great fight against, you know, Richardson Hitchens, and now there's kind of a little controversy of him coming in 6 pounds overweight. He made the rehydration limit the next day, which you guys didn't employ. I wanted to heavily emphasize. This was a Virginia thing that they mandated that 10 pounds for all the fighters on the card, but he still technically made the
second weigh-in.
The second weigh-in under the 10 pounds. I know they gave him an extra pound in case for safety reasons, but fight's on. What is your mind going through when he chose that opponent, the weigh-in situation, homecoming fight, first main event, now even maybe a title eliminator for him if he wins? So,
well, Keyshawn is extremely talented. He's extremely confident, and he wanted to show, you know, where his class was taking this type of opponent. And, you know, he could have took a couple different guys, especially for a homecoming fight. You know, that's a dangerous fight for his first homecoming fight. So that just tells everyone about his mentality and his confidence in himself and the confidence that we have in him as his coaches. So, you know, that's what that is. This guy, you know, I know you're going to ask me what I feel about the coming in overweight. I think it was a strategic move. You know what I mean? Because it kind of, you know, first off, you know, it's a hometown fight. It's a home fight. So instead of like 2 or 3 pounds, they went ahead and did 6 because what else was we going to do? Kill the show, his first home show. So I mean, it was some kind of strategic involved in this weight situation. I think it was purposely done. You know, I think that I think that the win for Lemos was more important than the money that he got to give up or whatever stakes was at 135 for him. I think it was strategically done. You know what I mean?
You know, I talked to Christina Poncham, and then I looked up the article after that he's actually missed weight 8 pounds before. And I know that when he fought Richardson Hitchens, he did technically make a rehydration for that IBF. So his body kind of goes all over the place, but the one thing that a lot of people know is consistently, like, he can pack a punch. We've seen Keyshawn box and move. We've seen Keyshawn bang, right? You know, and an opponent like this, and I think Keyshawn's fighting style still hasn't the public doesn't know his actual identity yet, I guess. This is what many people feel like is his first toughest test.
Yep.
Do you agree with that as on a pro level?
We'll see on paper. We'll see after everything is all said and done. I mean, you look at him on film, and he's a little rugged and likes to throw big shots, likes to mix it up. You know what I mean? He wants you to stand there in front of him. He'll come forward. You know what I mean? But we'll see after it's done, all said and done. But one thing that I do know is that we had this conversation before. Toolbox. Keyshawn got a lot in his toolbox. Keyshawn is very smart. Keyshawn is tougher than he gets credit for. He boxes better than he gets credit for. His defense is better than he gets credit for. But he's a more offensive-minded fighter. In his spirit, he want to hurt you. He want to put hands on you. You know what I mean? So he takes a little bit more risk. Now, if whatever adjustments we got to make during the fight, and we might got to go a little bit more defensive, then that's what we got to do, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's about getting that win and moving on to the next step. You know what I mean? So that's just what I got to say about that. But like I said, back to the toolbox. Keyshawn's toolbox is heavy. His natural instincts are heavy. His confidence is heavy, and he got a good team behind him. So I think that with the 6-pound weight advantage and things like that, we got to take that into consideration. He'll be stronger. He'll be a little more physical. So there's things that we got to know as coaches, and we got to look for, and we got to pay attention to. You know what I mean? So, however we need Keyshawn to fight round by round, first half of the fight, second half of the fight. However it got to go, he'll be prepared for it because we already did the work in training camp.
You know, you mentioned the toolbox analogy all the time, and just making an assumption that Lemos, he's what many people assume he's going to be coming for and want to throw some bombs and kind of like that. I know that many people have seen how people fight against Lemos. You probably try to compare like Richardson Hitchens, slick defensive, probably going to have to box.
Yeah.
But not giving away game plan, but someone also you think Lemos might be underestimating that if he comes forward and Keyshawn decides to want to take those risks, that he might be experienced the first time that he has to maybe go back, and that might be...
See, that's the difference. Styles make fights, and I like Africa. Africa's a hell of a fighter. I think the difference is Keyshawn can fight in your face. Keyshawn can fight in the pocket. He's comfortable in the pocket at times in the fight. So he's been schooled. He's been very well schooled coming up. So he can fight with a guy in his face. You know what I mean? It's just about knowing when to do it and when not to do it. And that's going to be the key. Ultimately, we want to be able to make him do what we want him to do without giving up a game plan. And Keyshawn has the tools to make him do exactly what we want him to do. We can fight on our own terms in that ring for the duration of those rounds. Styles make fights. You know what I mean? It's just like I said, and Keyshawn is well versed in the pocket. He can move. Like I said, it all goes back to toolbox. And we've studied Lemos. We've been in there with great sparring, and he'll be ready for anything that Lemos want to bring to the table.
My last two questions on it is the thing that I marvel with your guys' training camp and strategies, especially afterwards when you guys explain the game plan, is that you guys don't rely on simply just a game plan. It's more like adjustments. You guys have multiple different situations, and granted, if it goes this way, it's not like we're just going to continue to exploit this, even if you guys have a good advantage like the Crawford. You had like a flicking jab to then more of a sit-down jab. And then, so you've had those adjustments in case he does this, we'll do this, if the case it works in our favor. So with Keyshawn, can he make those multiple time adjustments that you guys...
Absolutely. I've just said it many times just in this interview. Keyshawn can make the adjustment. He got his own IQ, along with the 4 coaches that he's with. He has his own IQ and he has his own vision in there as well. And it's more or less a 50-50 thing. It's not like we're going to have to coach him throughout every second of every round. Some fighters, you got to coach them through every second of the round. Some fighters you might just have to say a couple of things to. You know what I mean? And that speaks to his IQ and his knowledge. You know what I mean? So with that being said, that's why I said we're well equipped for Lemos even with the 6 pounds.
With the focus being Lemos, and then probably Dennis Baranchek will be the champion, and promotion things will always kind of get in the way, so people want to bring up Raymond Muay Thais and all these other fights. Later down the line, you guys been in the situation with the Terrence and the Spence, right? It's almost mirroring the same thing. Tank, PBC, Davis and Davis, right? Do you see that fight potentially happening in the far future, near future?
You know what? I'm not going to answer that. It's been all this stuff going on Twitter, back and forth and all that stuff. I don't pay attention to that stuff. You let the fighters hash out whatever they want to hash out, but we got to be focused on who we got tonight.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? We got a tough guy tonight. He's not no slouch, and he's coming in heavy. You know what I mean? So he's a very dangerous fighter. I don't want to talk about no Tank. I don't want to talk no Muay Thai or whatever future plans is. We got to get past tonight. You know what I mean? We can make it easy, or it could be hard. You know what I mean? We don't know until we get in there. That's why we're prepared. That's why preparation is key. So I don't want to speak about Muay Thai and Tank and them. They good fighters and they hell of a fighters. But we'll talk about that once we cross that bridge. I don't want to get to everybody. People texting me, asking me, sending me videos and all that. I ain't even look at it. I don't want to look at it because that's not where my mind is focused at right now. I don't care what happened on Twitter, the back and forth. Keyshawn got to be focused on Lemos tonight at the scope, and that's what I'm focused on, and that's what we're going to reiterate. anything after our hand is raised, we can talk about that after.
Awesome. And honestly, to tell you the truth, I already expected an answer, but I feel like all the great trainers and fighters kind of, I know there's the promotion side, but they mirror that intimate, that message, right?
Because it's very serious. That is a very serious thing because, you know, this is a hometown fight, and we've had the experience of Bud Crawford fighting in Omaha about 7-8 times, and there's distractions. People want tickets. People pulling you here and there. People wait the last minute to get a ticket, and they can't find a ticket. So guess what? Guess who they asking? Oh, Keyshawn, my brother, this is my guy. You know, they hitting everybody up for last minute this, last minute that. Can I go to the party? This, first one thing and another. You have to eliminate the distractions. All of the brothers, Keon, Kelvin, Troy. This is pretty much a hometown fight for Troy too. You have to eliminate the distractions because they are prepared. But at the same time, it can be a mental trap for you dealing with all these outside situations. You know what I mean? And you got to go in there. You got a guy with two hands in front of you. You know what I mean? That's trying to come and take food off your plate, or they want your spot. You know what I mean? So you know, that's things that you got to be very serious about. Because little things like that, we've seen people in the past have hometown fights. They should have won or this, and they gave lackluster performances, or they got upset. History repeats itself. Yeah. That's why it's important for these fighters to know history, and for the trainers to know history, so you don't repeat that. You know, certain things you don't repeat. You know what I mean? It's just like the Bears and the Commanders, and I'm still sick about this.
No, don't do it.
I'm still sick about it. I ain't watched sports for 2 weeks because of this type of stuff. Hail Marys have happened. Why weren't they prepared? Does history repeats themselves?
I'm sorry, man.
Bear down, though.
You ain't the only Chicago that feels that way. So.
Oh, man, I'm still sick about
the
it.
Bears. Switching to Troy, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know this about Troy, and I think Troy should get a lot of respect. By all means, by history, right? History repeats itself. As in, two fighters in the B&B camp technically beat Majramov. Just one just happened this year, right? Yeah. That was Terrence Crawford. He took the track. But Troy Isley
beat him in amateurs. Beat him in the world tournament. Yeah.
So Troy doesn't, I don't think, get the credit, right? You know, from his amateur background, from the casuals, or even just modern boxing guys. Right? You have to be in, but you can look it up on YouTube. We know how good Majramov is.
I watched him in the amateurs when I was studying Majramov. You know, all the footage that was out there I watched, and we seen certain tendencies that he's had. You know, some people carry the same mistakes from amateurs to pros. They never fix them. So I'm sorry about that. And we watched, you know, he had some certain tendencies that he was doing in the amateurs and the pros. So yeah, what was you gonna say?
No worries. Troy is going to be taking on a tough, rugged guy that a lot of people aren't really familiar with.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him.
Well, I know you are, but I'm just saying once again, I'm the credibility. I'm building up essentially the hype of that co-main. This is essentially like his hometown fight too. First co-main out of his hometown, and it seems like there's a lot that's always on the show that Chess always feels like he has to prove himself in a division that isn't technically glamorous, but has killers like Janabek and Carlos Adames. The middleweight division, especially in America, he puts it on his back. But it seems like since he got with you guys over each fight, his improvement as a fighter has been noticed from fight fans, and they've seen him develop as a more technical, and you guys highlighted that, and he's put on the show, especially the Vladimir Hernandez fight. Tyler said that based off that fight, he wanted to take this fight after watching him fight what would be a guy who destroyed prospects and a former champion, J-Rock, at Unify. So he's confident. How's Troy looking into this?
Well, Tyler Howard is not my man. I can't remember his name that we fought. He's not the same fighter as him, 100% sure. He's southpaw. And it's a lot of different ways that guy, Tyler, is a little bit more of a boxer, but just more aggressive, but he actually has a style. This other guy was more a little wilder, just come forward, eating shots to give shots, just very, very difficult style, unorthodox, throw punches from weird angles. Like he was a lot more unorthodox. And we went through that fight and we got past him, but you learn from that fight, and you get better from that fight. So that right there for Troy was a good measuring stick for him at that time. We passed the test, and we got in the gym, and we improved. So if he's banking on that performance or whatever holes and leaks was in that fight, because there were some, and he got a good corner, and I'm sure they watched some things here. That's not going to be the case tonight with Tyler Howard. And I got a lot of respect for Tyler Howard. He can fight. You know what I mean? You know, I'm not going to get, that's what I said, I don't want to say too much about it.
Of course, no, it's a respect thing. You know?
Yeah, it's a respect thing. I respect him. You know what I mean? And he can definitely fight. He's very tough and rugged. I remember him being on top-ranked cards, and I've watched him on undercards. I watch the undercards. You know what I mean? Like if I'm in the arena, I'll go out and sit out and watch, because you never know which guy on this card we might have to fight in a couple of years. You just never know. So I like to keep my eyes on guys, so I at least have an idea. I remember that guy. He fights like this or he fights like that. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of something that I use in my mental Rolodex. But back to the question that you was alluding to, I'm gonna tell you how Bomac said. Troy has always been who he is. You know what I mean? He was brought up. K. Karoma had him, and instilled all of these skills in him. He's an Olympian for a reason. You know what I mean? And what our job was to make sure that he was getting back to certain things that he may have been getting away from. You know what I'm saying? And reminding him of things that he may have not been previously doing, because with all of these guys, we've had the privilege of watching them in the amateurs, you know, because we train in Colorado Springs. So Colorado Springs, the U.S. team will come over and train, spar or whatever. I've held pad for a lot of these kids that came up, you know, just give them a couple rounds of pads, putting them in our workouts, whatever. Just you know, just friendly stuff, just OG stuff, just helping the kids. And we don't mind that as a team. We've opened our doors to a lot of people. You know, I mean, just to help them, just because that's what we do. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, yeah, just certain things that Troy might have been getting away from. And it's just watching film, studying film, pointing out certain things, adding certain things that he may have not been doing or not aware of, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? But Troy has been who he is, you know what I mean? We haven't created him, we just modified him, you know what I mean? And him being with us, he's been very happy. He's, you know, the team pushes each other, you know what I mean? Like the team aspect is very understated. Us as coaches, we can do so much. But when you have a team of young, hungry people in your camp, and they all motivate each other, they all bounce off of each other. If someone is kind of pulling a little slack, then you might have Keyshawn getting on them. You might have Kelvin getting on them. You might have Keon saying something. You might have Terrence come in the gym and start barking at them. But that's what you get when you have a good team, and that's very understated about what we're doing at B&B. It's very important to have that team, because the environment makes it, you know what I mean, makes you want to push. You don't want to be the last guy. You don't want to be the last guy in the sprints. You don't want to be the last guy, you know, or the guy slacking, because everybody's watching when y'all pushing. So, you know, that's that.
Awesome. My last question on Troy is, it's kind of, I guess, somewhat mirrors. We got to focus on Tyler Howard, but just the transition from, I believe he's a contender. Mm-hmm. In the next year or two, championship, where do you see potentially maybe taking?
You got to get past this tough
Don't
guy.
worry about repeating. You know, I guess
I
this
we
spot.
got to get past this tough guy tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We cannot sleep on this guy, and I'm not slept on him. But you know, Troy has a bright future. Mm-hmm. We get past this test. We're gonna get past this test, and then we'll move forward and we'll see what's out there. Yep. But you know, 160 can be Troy's playground, and I'm very excited. I'm very, you know, comfortable with whatever is going on in Troy's career in this next year or so.
My last segment is on Kelvin and Keon, right? Mm-hmm. The brothers. Keon's making his pro debut, and I remember before he even turned pro, I think actually before Keon, he was going to like the Olympic trials actually. So, but I remember you and Bo was telling me like that kid can hit. Like you guys were kind of going like sheesh at the UFC gym. And we've already seen what Kelvin's done in amateurs. He's beaten Mario Barrios before, and Mario's a champion.
Yep.
And so he's kind of leading the pack, you know, as the oldest of the Davis, and Keon's the youngest, which most time in boxing we've seen the youngest benefit the most because they've seen the shortcomings of, you know, the olders. Even if they've done great, Roger Mayweather, Senior, the Davises,
yeah.
the Russells, even Boots.
Yeah.
You know, Boots had 2 older brothers, So Keon has the luxury of kind of seeing all that stuff, and he's having his pro debut here. So how's Kelvin and how's Keon coming into their fights?
Kelvin is good, man. Kelvin is a sleeper. Kelvin is the sleeper of the group. Kind of like Troy. You don't say too much. You don't get a whole bunch of hype and all that, and that's good. That's fine. Just when you creep up on them, it'll be too late. I tell them that. Don't worry about they not getting all this. You know, it's frustrating to them, and I know that it is. But it's okay. We're going to keep getting back into the lab after every fight and keep polishing the diamond. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. Everybody's not going to get, you know, the big fanfare and all this right away. Sometimes the guys will be earned. Shit, Bud was, 12 or 13-0 before he signed the top rank. He didn't come out of the amateurs, like, you know, even though he was the #1 amateur and he should have been on the Olympic team, but he didn't come out with that luxury. But guess what? 12-0, we went through TKO promotions and these smaller promotional companies, built himself up. Then by the time he got to the scene, it was too late. It was too late. You know what I mean? Like if you know Terrence's story. You know what I'm saying? You got probably signed the top rank 12, 13-0 sometime around there. Had to take the greatest Prescott last minute, and everybody was like, "What the hell? Who is this kid?" You know, the casuals like, "Who the fuck is this kid?" You know what I'm saying? So it could be the same thing for them. You know what I'm saying? For Kelvin, I should say. You know what I'm saying? Kelvin is a hard punching, sturdy, hard working, very mature. You know what I'm saying? And I'm very happy and I'm very excited about his future as well. Now, to talk about Keon is a bad motherfucker. He's mean, he's confident, and I can say this, watching him as an amateur, and he won the Olympic trials. And it was, you know, they had the things in the Olympic trial to pick the other guy and whatever. I ain't gonna say politics because I like the other kid too, so I don't want to shit on the other kid. But Keon will probably be a better pro than he was an amateur, and he's a hell of an amateur. You know, he's this close to being on the Olympic team. He won the trials. You know what I mean? I don't know what the system is or whatever, but Keon will be a better pro than he was an amateur, and that's saying something. That kid is very talented. He's a natural fighter. Like when you watch him get in there, when you watch him spar, and you just see how natural he is, and he's still got things to work on like anybody else. But when he get everything down and certain things that he got to do, start doing, and the more pro that he becomes to get comfortable in them rounds, Keon.
The stat card, might as well call it the B&B card, right?
Yeah, B&B DB3 card, yeah, for sure.